Hello and welcome to a brand new Five Heart podcast brought to you by CornNation.com and available on all of your favorite podcast platforms. But more importantly, as far as it matters, for right here, right now, live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. I'm your host, Greg Mahachko. My co-hosts, the panel, your friends, your family on these Thursday nights. We have our founder, our fearless leader, Mr. John Dan Johnston. Hello, sir.
Hi, Greg. Hi.
How are you? It's good to see
I'm
you.
great. Look what I have. I have an essential oil. It's called Hope. Look at this.
Yes, we'll talk about that briefly, and of course, to our
God, I think I just smashed my head.
hello, Minnie. I feel like I'm an offset Brady Bunch. Like, hi.
Hello.
So right before we started, I'm so glad we're here. We're live. We get honest to God, minute by minute feedback because right before we went live, you two were talking about full moon and if it's a real thing or if it's just an excuse that people use to be a little more crazy than normal. And now John goes into essential oils, which is also false. So I'm curious what the Chatterfields think. Do you put any stock into either essential oils or this full moon phenomenon?
Well, yeah.
Well, I know you do. We just talked
I and essential oils.
Yeah, I have more hope
Absolutely.
now, Greg. I have more hope. I don't know what is. I have more hope. Huh? How about that?
Is it really called Hope?
Yeah.
now. Aside from hair care products, we've got Coronation line of essential oils. So there's hope, and then when things aren't going our way, there's fuck everything. Right, John?
Well, you can have hope and fuck everything at the same time. That's kind
some
of
people hope to fuck everything.
That's kind of a leading statement, isn't it?
I apologize. That's inappropriate. All right, we've got a lot of our usuals here. This is like, I feel like this is almost Cheers, right? This is almost the bar where we come in. We've got all of our regulars here. We know living in Omaha, David Matney is here. Hello, David. David Canada is also here, saying good evening, all. Roger Moore was here and told us we were to launch in 1 minute, and we actually launched a few seconds late. Sorry, Roger. Getting these two on task when they get talking about full moons and the phases in Mercury and retrograde. It's a little crazy. So I apologize. Fred Sacco is here. I couldn't resist.
I love his last comment.
I'm not there yet. I'm going through the hellos.
Okay, you got to click on it. It's so good.
I will. Justin's here. James Boardman. Minnie's in the comments as well as live. That's weird.
So weird.
Roger can't wait for the beer announcement, so we'll get there. And is drinking Blue Moon with an orange slice, which I think is the only way legally you're allowed to drink a Blue Moon.
I didn't ever put no fruit in my beer, man.
You're missing out.
No.
No fruit salad?
No little fruit add-ons. You know, that Corona, if it didn't taste like a beer without the fruit add-on, what's the freaking point of having a beer? You know,
a garnish. I like getting those Bloody Marys that have like the whole thing.
That's a Bloody Mary. That's a Bloody Mary. That's not a beer.
John, can you read this comment for us?
Fred Sacco says you can have hope and fuck everything by S. Frost. Notice I read that without my glasses.
I appreciate that.
The oil and the full moon have made my eyes better.
Oh my!
Nobody believes you. Tiger Shark Divers here says hi. This is the David Letterman show. We all wish we had David Letterman money. I can say that much. Highlander Gun is with me. The full moon theory is false, but Goat Boy is real. I don't know about Goat Boy. I'm very, I've got a lot of faith. I'm a believer, but only in certain things, and not usually in like mythical creatures. Does that make sense?
Well, you know that old Leonard Skinner song.
I know a lot of old Leonard Skinner songs. Which one are you referencing?
Have you ever lived down in the ghetto? Have you ever heard the cold wind blow? That's not it. Forget it.
I'm like, that sounds like some of their lyrics, but no, I don't.
You don't know what I mean? Why don't you stand up and scream? Because there's things going on that you don't know.
You don't know.
There you go.
All right. Brett Klusaw is here. I hope I pronounced that right, Brett. I've got also a funky last name, so we do the best we can with what we're given. Let's see. Highlander Gun reminding us to stay off train tracks. And let's see. Yeah, I think we're about caught up. All right. So what am I drinking? Well, let me say this. America's oldest profession is rebellion. It's in our hearts. It's in our nature. We've been rebelling since the 1700s. However, America's oldest brewery is Yuengling. And that's what...
Is it really?
It is.
It is not.
Yes, it is. It's right there on the label. It's America's oldest brewery.
Yuengling.
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 Yeah.
Chuck Berry wrote a song about it called My Yuengling. And that didn't go over well, so he changed it to My Dingling, and it became a number 1 hit.
It's a little bell on a rope, man, or a little bell on a string.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Soap on a rope?
Nope. It's a bell on a string. That's how it rhymed with My Dingling. So.
Oh, okay.
Aaron says, enough about me. What's Minnie drinking tonight?
It's a spritzer. Not a beer. Sorry. There's okay. So it has some Prosecco and some Diet Squirt. It's like a mixer.
Sounds fancy.
It's so good. And I'm drinking it out of
your
Nebraska.
Husker Power Glass.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. I have
That's not so fancy.
I have lavender tea that's supposed to calm me down. Sure as shit ain't helping. Yeah,
I've been told I missed
it's
the
the
most
full
important.
moon.
All right. Let's see. James says Holmes Lake Fishman is real.
I don't know what
Justin
that is.
says, I don't know, but Justin says, James, how do you think those fish got 2 heads? I wonder if those are the most important comments. Husker Check says, hi, Greg, the good Greg. John and Minnie. I don't know. Is there a bad Greg?
There's always a bad Greg.
Hold on. Wait. Let me turn to the dark side.
There you go.
That's the bad Greg. Just so we all know. That's it.
It felt weird being out of character. Before we get on to actual real topics, John, you've been a coach. You coached your kids in a lot of things. Did you ever do like scouts with the kids?
Do what?
Were any of your children in the scouts?
I was a Boy Scout leader for 17 years.
So you've seen your fair share of Pinewood Derby cars, right?
Yes.
Can I show off my boys? It's his first ever Pinewood Derby car.
Did he build it?
He had help.
Okay.
I mean, he's 8, so power tools probably a little young.
Well, that's where you're supposed to teach him how to use hand tools.
Well, so what we did is he wanted to make it a dragon, like with big wings and everything. I said, but I'm pretty sure you have to stay in the parameters of, the rules. So he made a snake. So this is his snake car, John.
Well, that's kind of cool.
So it's an ocean snake. I think he'd be very excited to know that I was telling everybody about.
I was a Cub Master for 10 years. When we got to Boy Scouts, I did outdoor stuff a lot. I taught outdoor survival skills. I literally would ask my kids, we'd be at a camp out and I'd ask, everything would get quiet. And I'd look at one of them and I'd say, so who would you eat first? And they'd all kind of go, what? And and the older scouts, if they were veterans, they knew enough to be quiet for a minute because I'd usually ask a new kid and I go, no, who would you eat first? I mean, we're talking about what would you do if you're out in the wilderness, and what would you do if things got really bad? Who would you eat first? And normally they were always going to pick the geeky kid, and I would point out, good job, you killed the only kid that was could cook food. Now you've killed everybody. Or they'd pick the kid that could tie the only kid that could tie a bowline or set up a tent. I'd be like, it was a thing to teach them that everybody has value of some sort. But I got back one time, and one of the parents walked up to me and he goes, "Did you really ask them who they'd eat first?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." I said, this is serious. I also told him that it would be a very good topic to bring up at his next holiday family dinner. And,
I think James and I are of one mind. Eat the fat one, fattest flavor.
Yeah, well, that guy could always cook.
So we have, by the way, while we're talking about it, Fred says, I could imagine the badges John won in given out in John's troop. Shit ass, most curses in a single sentence, toilet rant, etc. And
I did not swear at my scouts, which is why I spent 17 years doing that, and now I have to make up for it.
David Matney says the get off my lawn badge.
Okay.
So, well, lots been going on this week in Nebraska athletics, both, not just both football and other sports. And I thought we might talk a little wrestling, but then I realized that Todd was on Monday night and there hasn't been wrestling since Monday night. So wrestling has been covered. So,
yes.
So I probably do this in chronological order, which, Minnie, correct me if I'm wrong, starts with the Polynesian Bowl.
Yeah. I hope everybody watched that. Bowl? Oh, it was so great. Okay.
So I didn't watch Polynesian Bowl. I didn't mean to interrupt you because Nebraska had wrestling and men's basketball that night.
Oh, that's true. So that's true.
It was actually a really exciting random Friday night in January for Nebraska athletics.
Yeah. It was a good Friday night. And one of the things that I loved the most about the Polynesian Bowl was their halftime show. Oh my God.
That was good.
It was so good. I thought, this is amazing. We need to have this. We need them coming to Nebraska to do one of our halftime shows. It was so good.
I have to ask,
would
it be better to have something that's more local to the area? Like, for example, I know you got to go up into South Dakota a little bit, but I mean, there are indigenous peoples, Native Americans in Nebraska, South Dakota. Could we do like a Lakota Sioux or something like, or you know what I'm saying? I mean, rather than flying Hawaii, people from Hawaii in.
Well, wouldn't it be fun to kind of, take all these different cultures and represent it somehow at each halftime? That would be a lot of fun.
That would be fun, but the problem is, first of all, describe what the Polynesian Bowl halftime show was. I talked about it Monday night, but I didn't describe it. Describe it for everybody.
They had kids from around the area that put on these amazing shows with their dances, their Polynesian dances and their fire stick type, like that. Their fire stick warrior type thing, dances, choreography. And then they had, the singers as well. And then at the end, they kind of combined all these different groups. There were probably like 10 different groups, not quite 10, but maybe 5 that were on the field, all doing a dance together. It was really great. So entertaining.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was better than a lot of Super Bowl.
I know. It was so good.
Fred says
the problem with doing anything at a halftime show at Nebraska is if you change anything in the layout, it's like going to church and the pastor decides he's going to change the sermon to a different point in the church service. True. People just shit themselves. True. People at Nebraska, they got all them people and the band's supposed to do this at this time and this is supposed to happen at that time. And if you change it up, they freak out, man. They just.
I love the baton twirlers. They're my favorite.
All right, I've got to interject here because we have some really tremendous halftime show comments here. James Boardman says halftime hog wrestling for an Iowa game. Fred says the tribe of Johnston should do the halftime show, dancing around, shaking a fist at the sky, and cursing in an unintelligible fashion. One of my favorites.
You're never unintelligible, you frap-a-dap.
And Jay Blutarski comes in, just a kiss of one. The Sioux were initially not from the Dakotas; they were from Wisconsin, and when they finally got horses, they got the hell out of there. Well done. I don't know the historical accuracy, but I'm going to pretend that that's exactly what happened. So
that's what happened.
But a great halftime show, for probably the casual observer, might have been the highlight of the broadcast. But for Nebraska fans, we had three players, three incoming freshmen who not only played, played very well. Yes.
And they all started.
The only downside is they weren't on the same team.
I know. Oh, that kind of killed me. I wish they could have worked it out, but Dylan Raiola and Carter Nelson, they were on one team, and then Preston Taumua.
Okay.
We're gonna get used to this. Taumua, he was on the other team. Okay. He did an amazing job at stopping the pass rush. So I thought they only got to practice like a week together, and it was really filled with a lot of activities. So, they just kind of dumbed all the plays turnovers down. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of like a showcase.
Right.
They didn't do a whole lot of running, but they did a lot of throwing and intercepting. But I thought, and okay, sorry. One other thing. Did you watch it, John? You watched it.
I watched. I would flip back and forth between that and wrestling.
Okay. Did you see that they would pan to like the sidelines and there was a guy wearing a Nebraska shirt?
No.
An older gentleman.
That. Well, there was a
couple times they showed it.
Dylan's dad.
Yeah. His grandpa was behind like one of the field goals, So that was kind of neat. I was like, oh my gosh, I know that guy. And of course, then they showed pictures, video from the week of Dayton Raiola and Taylor Raiola. And it's like all the Raiolas were there. It was one big happy family.
They're going to adopt us, or are we adopting them?
I think Minnie's going to try to adopt a few of the kids. I don't know how that'll work.
I think they all come as a package deal, adults, kids, whatever. Probably their pets too.
So what you're saying is that if we're adopting them, they're no longer like the Raiolas, they're the Corn Nations, like Dylan.
No, not us, Corn. All the Nebraska University, everybody.
Sure.
The whole thing, not just our cult.
Minnie, how many spare rooms do you have in your house for all these kids you're bringing in?
I think they can handle it. They're making plenty of money. I can live with them.
I'm sure the Cattlemen's Club could slaughter enough beef to feed everybody.
Oh, it's true.
I was actually trying to pull a GIF, as the kids say, of one of the passes from Raiola to Carter Nelson. And again, they mentioned in this clip, the file was too big for StreamYard to handle, so my apologies.
Right.
But they even the announcers mentioned that Carter Nelson's, it was his first 11-man game. He's used to 8-man ball. He's going to be more of a hybrid slot type receiver with his size, but he's used to playing in space. So this particular it was almost like an option pass type of thing from Raiola to Nelson, and it went for 11, 12 yards, first down, something like that. So it was fun to watch, and Ryle, I know he had an interception, but Minnie, like you said, so did everybody else that played.
Yeah. And honestly, like I said, they only got to play, practice together for 4 days. And I think because I kept rewinding it, and I don't think the guy was running the right route. I kind of blame it on him.
That's very much on brand with
yes,
what
it is.
with what Fred's going to say here, because Fred says that Minnie will take in a couple rescue Raiolas. Quote, I didn't rescue this 5-star. This 5-star rescued me.
Yeah,
Aw.
there you go.
So, anything else from the Polynesian Bowl?
Absolutely. First thing I want to say, well, last thing I want to say, I should say, Carter Nelson. Oh my gosh. We have got a major player in this kid. He was on the field almost the entire time. And I mean, he just catching passes. He was amazing. He would run from one end of the field to the other. And it was like quicker than anybody else. Plus, he was bigger than all the other kids. So I'm excited to see him.
Living in Omaha, David Matney has a question. And I think this is a very interesting question. I think I know the answer. That's not him. He says, who do you think has more name recognition in Nebraska, Dylan Raiola or Jim Pillen?
Who's Jim Pillen?
You have to ask that question?
Oh, God. Yeah, you might as well. I mean, Dylan Raiola has way more name recognition, I would think.
Right.
Because it's not just Nebraska. People in Nebraska would know who Jim Pillen is.
Did you
The
guys
Nebraskans are everywhere on the planet, and I can tell you that the Huskers for California people, they don't give a shit who the governor of Nebraska is. That is the governor of Nebraska, right?
But you know what?
Dave Matney, who lives in Omaha, and Omaha is in the state of Nebraska, he might care who the governor is.
He is, but he's not asking that.
I know.
He's asking who has name recognition.
I agree.
Okay, name recognition within the state or name recognition nationally?
Like within the fan base, perhaps.
Fan base. It's
Yeah.
Dylan Raiola. It's not even close.
Obviously, because I mean, but we do. Most Nebraskan Husker fans know who the governor is because he's like all over the place supporting the Huskers.
John, I think you'll particularly appreciate this comment from Fred. Fred says, I know Minnie isn't Todd, but how is Carter Nelson's caboose? Actually, maybe don't answer that.
I would say
we would be rating Preston Kalmua's caboose.
yeah.
And I would think Todd would give him like 4 badonks at 15. I might need to check with him, but
Let's see here. James Boardman, don't almost skip your first name. James Boardman says Pillen's more popular with hogs, less so with humans. Dave Matney did say within the state. I mean,
Okay.
there is a small percentage of Nebraskans, like honest to God, Nebraska citizens who don't care about college football.
Yeah.
Who are
there are.
busy raising like cattle and things like that, and think that there's more important things than throwing around a little pigskin on a Saturday afternoon. Teach their own.
Yeah, all 4 of them.
That's fine. I know 2 of them. They're good people.
Yeah,
That's
they are.
fine.
Come on. You're just sucking up for some reason.
No, because they're not watching. Because again, they're out making sure that the calves are warm. They got fresh hay down.
I've seen the commercials. I've seen the commercials, Greg.
What commercials?
You can watch a game anywhere. Don't give me this. They're out. They're out taking care of the cattle out there in the middle of nowhere. There's no technology.
Maybe they don't have good reception.
Come on.
Maybe they don't have the.
I can get it that some
nation's
people don't
largest
like Nebraska football. That's fine, but we don't have to. We don't have to tolerate them.
That's fine.
They can just go live in their own space.
MK wants to know who has more touchdown as a Husker. I'm guessing he's wanting to know between Dylan Raiola and Jim Pillen, and I think so far it's 0. But I have a feeling it's going to change in a few months.
it will change.
Yeah, it'll change.
Back to the Pinewood Derby. Roger Moore says in Iowa, all the kids who won Pinewood Derby had dads that worked for Rockwell for the space program. That sounds like somebody who didn't win a Pinewood Derby is what that sounds like.
My kids were terrible at Pinewood Derby.
No, don't get me wrong. There's no way that this thing is going to win, but we had a lot of fun carving it down and painting it. So
I think that's really cute.
Josh thought today was Wednesday, so he's clearly a day off.
What a dork! It's the full moon, Josh.
He didn't catch that part of the conversation. You can't.
Well, yes, he can. I can. We
He
can do
can-
anything. If they don't show up on time, that's their fault.
Okay. Husker P says we go from the worst quarterbacks possible to hopefully the best. Look where everyone who leaves goes. Nowhere you.
It's true. It's true.
How
Didn't
many quarterbacks do we have on the roster?
Okay, so Chubba Purdy just went to somewhere in Nevada.
I thought it was
He went
Nevada?
to-
I thought it was.
He
Was it
just
UNLV?
no, not even there.
Oh, it was
It's like-
Nevada.
It's University of Nevada at Reno, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Casey Thompson.
Okay.
No,
Same thing.
he's Nevada Wolfpack. It's just Nevada.
It's just Nevada.
Well, I mean, it's not like Nevada. It's not. I don't know where Reno is in Nevada. It's like Northwest Nevada State at Reno or anything like that. I mean, it's still Division One.
Okay. Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Talk
This-
amongst yourself.
This comment by Clay threw me off. It's like there's a wild animal lurking. I think it was just my dog who. That's comments a few
You have
minutes
a
old. So
dog?
I do. She's
What
old
kind of
and
dog?
she's a mutt. She's beautiful and she's a sweet dog and she's great with all the kids. But she's also 13 years old and starting to show. And
Oh, I have
You
a
know-
13-year-old.
dog or child. No,
I
child are
have a
15, 11, and 10.
13-year-old
So,
Yeah. I have a
let's-
13-year-old dog, 3-year-old dog, and 8-month-old.
That's a lot of fur.
That's a lot of.
A lot of fur.
Our
Uh,
roster right now shows, this is all freshmen. Why are they listing this like this? This is pissing me off.
Justin, I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't know if we're gonna get this particular ranking, but Justin says that we need a caboose power ranking by the end of spring.
I'll have to consult Todd on that.
That definitely feel like that'd be a joint endeavor.
Yeah.
Let's see. Shay Blutarski says 6 years ago, I told a coworker that his grandson should maybe stop focusing on hoops and focus on being a tight end. I think they would have figured that out anyway. The grandson was Carter Nelson. So
Oh my
means-
gosh.
stop. Don't ask for names or phone numbers. All right. We got to let these kids be kids. They have to graduate high school.
Well, he's not an early enrollee,
I
so
know.
we're not going to get to see him at the spring game.
No. I mean, he'll probably be on the sideline, but
Well, yeah, but he won't be playing.
I'm going to say, David Manny, that's a really great question. I'm going to save that for later in the show. Wants to know how the Five Heart Podcast got its name. Fred says in Iowa City, the football players bet on the Pinewood Derby while the cheerleaders mud wrestle for a bear claw and a Stuckey's gift card.
Stuckies. I haven't heard that name in a long time.
And Josh says after you called him a dork, John, he says, dork, well, great. Now I have to fight John. I have a sick 3-month-old. Time has zero meaning.
Well, that is true.
Oh,
He does have his little boy has not been feeling the greatest. So we hope everybody gets healthy, young and old alike, and everywhere in the middle. Fred says, I think it's Todd getting ready to hit Greg over the head with John's toilet seat and take his place. Oh, yeah, Todd doesn't know where. I've met Todd. Todd and I have broken bread. We had barbecue together here in Illinois. But he doesn't know where I live. So let's see here. Looking. Josh says that Nelson's still looking good, dunking on the basketball court.
oh.
Do
You guys have, like, here in Arizona, we have Sports 360. So they go all over to every high school there is. I know. And they like video the games and then they interview the players afterwards. You guys Nebraska has something like that too. Right?
I don't know if they do it
So
part of the problem with running coordination and running a lot of this stuff is, and me having to pay, I try to pay attention to as many sports and try to organize like who's covering basketball, softball, that kind of stuff. I don't have time to look at all that stuff anymore. I mean, I don't. So when you guys are, I depend upon you, Minnie, to look that up.
Okay.
So I know.
Okay.
I think
So
Che
back-
needs to call me later so I can get the down low on what's going on with Carter.
Back when I was, okay, you got to go back 20 years, but when I was up in Shadron, they had a, like I would say magazine, but it was on newspaper paper, and it highlighted a lot of various, football, programs and schools and teams and players across the state back then. I don't know if they had something like that for basketball as well. I can't remember. I wish I knew the name of it. I remember at one time they came out and interviewed a couple of Shadron kids because Shadron had tremendous athletes, but they were very small. Like you would think if they were more prototypical size, they had the ability to, a lot of them played just right up the road at Shadron State College. A lot of them with Danny Woodhead. But if they would have been a little taller, they could have, gone maybe elsewhere. But I can't remember the name of that. I thought it was like Nebraska Land Prep or something. Anyway.
That sounds right.
Thank you. Panhandle, maybe that's what Josh says. Panhandle Prep does all sports.
Oh.
But that's mostly just the Panhandle. So I don't know. All right. So anything?
Hey, wait. Brett,
Oh gosh, are we back in the Polynesian Bowl with our
Huddle does a lot. They do.
Huddle does a lot, and that's an Omaha-based or Lincoln-based company.
Lincoln-based, and then Herdat, which is I don't know why they named.
Oh yeah, I do.
Herdat does quite a bit.
Because you heard that, right?
Domain names are really hard to find. That's all I can figure out on that one. Okay.
So anything else on the Polynesian Bowl? Because we kind of got off topic a little bit there.
No.
Okay.
I think we're good.
All right. Well, let us talk about. Minnie, you informed John and I, and now through the show, we're going to inform everybody else that Nebraska head football coach Matt Rhule did what Matt Rhule has done in the past, and that's kind of share his knowledge. And he did a coaching clinic for some Texas high school coaches. And the specialty of this talk was about winning in the end zone. Not the end zone, the red zone.
The red zone. Yes. So he put together, this was, okay, he was the head coach at Baylor when this took place. But they're advertising it, the site that he did it on is advertising it as the head coach of Nebraska Cornhuskers. So that's how I found it.
So maybe it was an older talk?
It was from, almost 10 years ago.
Gotcha.
So one of the things that, two parts of his talk are free to listen to. If you guys want to go there, it's through coachtube.com. And it was really informative because he talked nonstop about what winning in the red zone looks like. And you pointed out, Greg, when you were writing up when you're writing up our little teaser, how we were not winning in the red zone at Nebraska.
We didn't. Every team in Division I or FBS had above 500, percentage in the red zone. The problem with Nebraska is Nebraska only had 28 trips to the red zone. We converted on 20 of those. Most were, I think, passing TDs. I think it's 10 passing, 6 rushing, or vice versa, and then 4 field goals. It's just too few opportunities.
Yeah, no, you're right. He's doing this it's available to anybody, but mainly it was to the Texas high school coaches, which is, huge. Bye, Greg.
Keep going.
48 minutes. If you want to watch the whole thing, it's $15, which, I wanted to watch the whole thing. So he breaks down his philosophies and play calls because I think it's really interesting. I find it interesting whenever people like go off the grid a little bit and do their own kind of recognizance, they're doing. He wanted to find out, how do the winning teams win? And he said 70% are touchdowns in the red zone. Okay. So if you want to win 10 or more games per season, you have to have 70% of your touchdowns in the red zone. So that's kind of a good statistic to go by if you're like looking at, how you're doing in games. Never kick field goals, except for in the fourth quarter. That was another one of his little talking bits, which, as we know, every single time whenever we would go down and kick a field goal and the poor defense would get back on the field, it would just be like, we lost that one, is what you felt like. Also, the offensive goal is to run the ball in, not necessarily throw in the red zone.
Minnesota. Okay, anyway.
I know. And defense tries to only allow field goals, which I thought was like, our defense has that pretty nailed. I think On3 did this thing where he was just talking about how low scoring all of our games were, the losses. So kind of really, we have one part of it down. And then he also said, he always practices in the red zone daily, 7-on-7. First goal, run the football in. And then he kept saying touchdown, check down, touchdown, check down. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? And completions equals touchdowns, which, we have to get that in the red zone. We have to get those completions on our drives because the field is shrinking. So that's why he practices it every single practice. And what I thought was really interesting is Glenn Thomas was his quarterbacks and offensive coordinator at that time. And they together kind of, were doing all this research and going off of, the data that they found. So I think, with Glenn Thomas back with Matt Rhule, we're going to be seeing a lot. This is what he does. And apparently this is what Glenn Thomas does. They research, they find out, okay, this is what makes the difference right here. This one little thing. So
we were fourth in the nation in the defense last year in allowing TD conversions inside the red zone. Our offense in the red zone was 130th out of 133 teams by conversion percentage or score percentage. In other words, when you get into the red zone, you can get a touchdown or a field goal. And if you convert, it can be either one. But what you want is your TD percentage to be, obviously, like Minnie said, way above your field goal percentage. But Nebraska overall was like 49th nationally in conversion, but it's very, very good at making opponents convert to field goals. Does that make sense? Everything okay?
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
no, I know what you're saying because I was researching all this now that I listened to his whole thing. It was worth the $15. I have to say, I loved it.
Someone made a good point up here. Josh says $15 you can probably write it off for your taxes because you did it for work for next year.
That's true.
Make sure you keep your receipt.
Okay. I will.
I like Clay's comment here. Said as far as our red zone offense last year was Chubba Purdy interception, Jeff Sims interception. Better play it safe. Get in there, Alvano, doink. That was our red zone. So
Yeah, it was.
Yep.
I'd like to just think about going forward.
Yes,
Yeah,
I like that idea.
we can't
Which-
change the past.
Which think about the running backs that we have now, or
Oh
the
my
Dante Dowdell. We have him.
Yeah,
That's and we.
I need more hope.
Our running backs were hurt last year, so that's part of the problem. Plus, we didn't have a quarterback to be able to throw. So
To our own guys.
mhm.
I wonder with all the. I'd like your takes or your opinions on this. With as many players as came in the transfer, and look, they're eyeing more now that there's been the coaching carousel, which we meant to talk a little bit about last week, and that didn't happen. But now even more so with Jim Harbaugh going back to the NFL, and so that opens up a 30-day transfer portal window from Michigan. Do we have, because of NIL now, do we have to worry about attrition, or will some of the guys who were on the team who maybe contributed over the last couple of years, will they be rehomed, for a lack of a better term, with all the Matt Rhule guys that are coming in?
What are you asking? What the hell?
Well,
It's a
so we
lengthy
got
question.
Dante Dowdell in, and we got other skill position players, but we have some who didn't get to show as much as they could have last year because of injuries.
Right.
Will some of those, are we at risk of like a Gabe Ervin transferring out?
Yeah.
I hope not.
We always
I
are.
love Gabe. I love him. He's my
You do, but here's Jerry Seinfeld said years ago, you're rooting for the uniform. There's a certain level of truth in that. Because of nil and because of playing time, there's always, and the transfer portal, there's always going to be players coming and going. This is the new reality in college football. Here's the thing. Why do we worry about this? We have a team that hasn't been to a fucking bowl game since 2016. And if some of the guys leave because they don't get playing time, that's probably because they got replaced by better guys. And while I'd like to see, we can love them all and treat them nice, but the honest to God truth is, this is a big boy business, and if we're upgrading, then everything's fine. Plus, we have 750 people on our roster now.
Was it what is it? Hal Brooks said, or at least in the movie said in Miracle, said the name on the front of the jersey is a hell of a lot more important than the name on the back of the jersey.
Yeah,
that's kind of lines up with the Seinfeld line. Well, I mentioned Michigan. That's on me, and my apologies to that. But living in Omaha, David Matney with a great one says, "Dream hire, Michigan brings in Scott Frost."
I love that. Yeah.
Although knowing Nebraska luck, they go back to the college football playoffs next year.
Well, they're probably going to hire Sharon Moore, and we'll see.
I think we need to do a episode called "The Demise of Michigan."
Wow, it's a little early.
No, it isn't. I'm dancing on that grave right now.
Really?
Yeah.
He got out before all the sanctions came down, like Pete Carroll did.
He got out. Yeah, he left.
So did all the
kind of a chicken shit move by Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, that pansy ass, spineless poopy butt. Yeah.
I like this comment, or at least want to touch on this comment by Clay. Clay says Gabe Ervin will be the first running back with a wheelchair on the field, and I'll have to politely disagree, and I'll say it would be Trey Bryant. Remember Trey Bryant a few years ago? Yeah, young kid from St. Louis, had a ton of potential, but it was injury after injury, and he actually did like a medical retirement and stepped away from the game completely, probably after only 2.5 or maybe 3 years. Had potential without me looking up his stats. I mean, I don't want to say every bit as good as Gabe Ervin. I don't know if that's a slight to anybody, but was the type of running back that Nebraska was really high on and just couldn't stay healthy. So I would almost say Trey Bryant would get that nod as the first wheelchair on the field. As far as Michigan collapsing, Josh says, what if our linebacker came back? Well, I know we missed Ernest Hausman. Tiger Shark Diver seems to think that Ernie is coming back. There might be more speculation than anything there.
I don't know about that.
Because what was it that he burned some bridges on the way out, or
Seemed like it.
yeah? Are those bridges even intact, or are those bridges with guys who are no longer here?
I think that I think his teammates loved him. You know, he grew up in Africa.
Ernest
Did you know
Hoskins?
that? Mm-hmm.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, okay, Greg, why are you looking at me like that?
I'm just waiting for the rest of the story. Come on, Paul
Okay.
Harvey.
Okay, so he has like 17 brothers and sisters, and his parents contracted AIDS, and this couple wanted to adopt him, and the parents said okay, and it took like 5 years. This couple waited for him.
Wow, I didn't know
Yeah.
this.
Mm-hmm.
He was born in Uganda.
Yes.
This is all on his Wikipedia page.
Wow.
I mean, it's
and
pretty
not know
cool.
he grew up in Columbus,
I'll
Nebraska.
stop swearing at him at night when I go to bed.
I think it's really neat. I feel like perhaps Jim Harbaugh stole him off our roster.
Well, they took a guy. I mean, you know, this is how it goes. This is how it's going to be. Yeah.
Yep, you're right.
Portals.
All right, looking here. I know, John, thank you as I stepped out to grab more beverage. There's something about Yuengling, I'll tell you. Yuengling goes down very quickly, very smooth. When I was in Florida last March, and it was all you could drink Yuengling for free, I drank a lot of Yuengling that week. It was a great time. So thanks John for starting some of these comments. Let's see. Clay has an idea, a creative way to handle the roster situation. Have a few guys wear the same jersey and see if anybody notices. They might know when there are 750 people on the sideline.
I mean, there's already 750 people down on the sidelines most of the time anyway.
True.
So.
That's true. As far as the running back room, Josh says Gabe, Ramir, Ives, and Dowdell is a stacked room of very different skill sets. I think
that's true. John, you forgot Johnson, Emmett Johnson.
Emma Johnson? Yeah, Josh. Jeez.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell, Josh? It's like he's not sleeping or something.
I know that, John, I know it's been several years for you since you had small children in the house, but especially when they're coughing and cranky and they're not sleeping, you're not sleeping. So,
right.
I feel you, Josh. I do. So, Uganda is the home of Kamala, the Ugandan giant. With good, I bet you there's a Fred Sacco in the comments who's really appreciating that comment, Josh. Let's see. Not yet, Colt. We will. Don't you like how I'm just side reading all the comments?
Yeah, you are.
Greg talking about Yuengling like our former head coach talked about casting couch. Jeez.
Wow.
This is much better and cleaner and better for your health and won't get you in trouble. All right. Let's talk about basketball. Because those Huskers did some stuff a couple nights ago, and we should talk about it, John. Minnie.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They welcomed Ohio State, and they sent Ohio State home crying on the plane ride back to Columbus as Nebraska picked up another impressive win, and it was Rank Mast, who had a big night. I don't want to say that I doubted the acquisition of Rank when he came over, I think from Bradley or Illinois State or something after last year. I just thought, it seems odd that, it's a big step up for him. How would he compete at not the Division I, but at the Power 5 level? Kid is knocking out of the ballpark.
Did you guys watch the game?
No.
Minnie. It's okay to say no. It's
I
okay.
didn't.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Husker Chuck and James
you know
Porter,
what?
you're there correcting me. Thank you for it is Bradley.
It was, I have a problem with basketball where I want to turn these games on, and I'm so used to just watching us collapse or watching scoring droughts or watching, quite frankly, shit basketball. And I turn this game on, and it was a good game for a while, and then we just slowly overwhelmed Ohio State, and Mass played incredible. I mean, the guy shot. He did everything. He shot from the floor. He shot from three. He dished the ball well. I mean, Keisei Tominaga barely played in this game, and the reason why is because they didn't need him to play. And I think that's probably the most fantastic thing about this basketball team is there are people that can, there's people that come in and provide things every time. Like Sam Hoiberg has so much energy when he's on the court, and he plays so good. It's so good at defense, and he uses his opportunities to score. Josiah Alec I don't think he's the most gifted athlete, but he has so much energy again, and he plays defense like a monster. And again, he has provided scoring under the, in the paint that he draws fouls really well. He goes to the basket. He's very aggressive. He's a little bit too aggressive sometimes, but they're fun to watch. That's the thing. CJ Wilcher, 2 years ago, I wondered why the hell this guy existed. Now he just goes on the court and scores. They do need to figure out the road thing. One thing that I saw on Twitter,
bled in the last 4 years or 4 games or something.
What?
Hasn't Rake Mass bled in the last 4 games?
He just gets beat up. They have been very physical games, and I think the thing is when the Big Ten, at least the games I've watched, I think Nebraska's had a problem in the past being physical, and it's not a problem now. They get in there and they bang with the other guys. Alec, I mean, yes, Mast has been cut up and he's been beat up in these games, and that's literally playing basketball. And the way the officials have been calling the games lately, it's been pretty, I said it, physical. They've been very physical games.
Rank, I don't mean to cut you off, John. I just want to touch on Rank's performance. He had a double-double, 34 points.
Yeah,
10 boards.
10 rebounds.
But here's the thing that he's a big guy, and he went 6 for 8 from beyond the arc. It's not. I don't think the idiot from Purdue's got that much range,
right?
I mean, he probably doesn't have to, if I'm being honest. But Rank just steps out there and hits 75% of his shots from 3. It's something that you don't expect. It's a nice wrinkle. It's a nice advantage.
Wasn't Dylan on the sidelines there sitting next to Coach Cook?
He was.
I thought so. I did catch that. It was on Peacock. That's why.
You are always on brand. Yes.
We got to get that sweatshirt, that hoodie made up. Says,
okay,
Stucker.
The one thing that bothered me that I saw on
Corn
Twitter was somebody make the comment that the Big Ten is having a down year. And it kind of pissed me off because of this. Michigan is not very good at basketball this year. Ohio State is not very good at basketball this year. Nebraska is better than they've been in many years. Northwestern's better than they've been in many years. If Michigan and Ohio State had the same records flipped with Nebraska and Northwestern, nobody would be saying the Big Ten is down at basketball. It's you dumb fucking ignorant fucks that don't pay attention that you're down in basketball. Right, well, because you only watch the same teams yet.
I think that's what it is.
Bad words going to come out there too.
They're not used to, as far as college basketball goes, Michigan's, I don't know if they're blue blood, but they're much closer than Nebraska is. Right. And Ohio State, much closer than Northwestern. So when the better teams are down, and Michigan is down. Michigan's 2-6 in the conference. Ohio State 3-5. But
right.
Nebraska's sitting 5-4. Northwestern's 5-3.
Nice.
Wisconsin, Nebraska's got a road game on Saturday. They go at Maryland. I don't know the odds on that. I don't know the spread. I don't know who's favored. I would imagine it's a Big Ten men's basketball game, so I'm imagining that the home team's favored. And then
on Peacock, I wonder.
I don't
What?
know. I don't know if I don't think that one's on Peacock. But then a week from
Okay.
tonight, Nebraska and Wisconsin from the PBA, which means I don't know if we'll alter our schedule and do a Wednesday night show. I haven't looked at my work schedule yet to see what's feasible. But I would want as many people as possible to be able to watch that game because it's a Big Ten home game for Nebraska
Oh,
against
that's huge.
the top team in the conference again. And if they could beat Wisconsin, they're almost a shoe-in. John, correct me if I'm wrong, for the tournament, right?
I think that they're, if they just keep going in the direction they're going and they don't have like any major injuries or collapse, they're a tournament team. I mean, I know that we worry about this because because basketball, quite frankly, has been terrible throughout its entire, you had the knee years, but throughout its entire existence, it really hasn't. It's not been good. I watched the Minnesota-Wisconsin. Wisconsin was ahead by I think it was 16 points, and Minnesota came back and they lost. I think they ended up losing by 2, but they were ahead right at the end of the game, and then they just blew it up. They blew it because they're Minnesota. I could say that. It's fun. But that was unfortunate. But when you look at Maryland has a 9-2 record at home, 3-4 on the road. The best team on the road is Purdue at 3-2. Wisconsin's got a 500 record on the road at 3-3. They're 10-1 at home. So, again, like I always mention, winning on the road is incredibly difficult, no matter who you are. So, there you go. That's basketball. I think, again, if we just keep doing what we're doing, and we do have a lot of guys, and that we have a lot of guys that can play and a lot of guys that can score, just keep doing what we're doing and we'll be fine.
If Nebraska wins at Maryland on Saturday, it'd be their first conference road game of the season. So I know that'd be a really nice one to get.
And what did you say Maryland is ranked right now, John?
Well, they're not ranked, but they're where are they at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th in conference.
Yeah, they're below Nebraska.
I think last week they beat Illinois on the road, so that was a pretty big win for them. I mean, beating Illinois at home is pretty. I don't know if you guys pay much attention to basketball at all.
I try to. I know Illinois had. I don't want to call it. I don't know if scandal's the right word, but they had the player who was accused and was suspended indefinitely and actually sued to be able to come back. And I think he sued the university and what have you and won. So he dressed out, I think, for the last week of games, and they've won. And it's weird, man. And I don't know, maybe Nebraska fans are the same way, and I'm not trying to start a shit storm, but I feel like Duke lacrosse fans were probably very similar back however many years ago that was. But when those allegations came out, being in Illinois and seeing comments on social media that friends of mine would comment, so I'd go through the comments, follow the story, and so many people were like, what an injustice, and what happened to innocent until proven guilty, and things like that. And I agree. By the Constitution of the United States, we are all innocent until proven guilty. But there's a way where I don't know if you're guilty, and I don't think the investigation is done for this guy for Illinois. But if there's a chance, I think suspension's probably just the safest bet, right? I mean, but that's what I'm saying. I'm sure Nebraska fans would be the same way if one of our players was accused of something horrendous. Be like, oh well, let's let all the chips fall before we go, sidelining and ruin the kids. So,
I mean, honestly, we were okay. Think of Eric Gilbert.
There wasn't a whole lot of allegations. There was some pretty hard video evidence. That's true.
Nobody's standing behind him going, this kid, he just needs a father or anything like that. It was just okay, this kid has issues.
Well, yeah, because he was stealing $1,300 worth of vape pens.
And innocent until proven guilty does not apply if you're Jim Harbaugh. Sorry.
Lawrence Phillips was a long time ago, and I think that a lot of things have changed since
That's
then.
a good one.
There would be nobody if this situation happened today. There would be no way that Lawrence Phillips would make it back on the field, because I mean, think what is it? 30 years ago,
Yeah.
almost. It's not a comparable situation to now.
No.
So the guys getting the away crowds are just pretty loud for the Illinois guy that was allowed back on the team, and I think they should be. So anyway, there's basketball.
I really like this comment from Clay. Clay's doing a great job. I don't know if Clay usually comments. I don't remember seeing the name too often. So Clay, please come back and comment more. Says, think of how hard it is to maintain a program for a coach in this era. Hoiberg seems like he has a cancer-free team these last few years.
Oh, knock on wood.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So, Clay's a good guy. Tiger Shark Diver standing up. Well, TSD. This drink's for me, but cheers to you.
One thing that I love that is going on right now in Nebraska sports is everyone is kind of supporting every sport there is. All the coaches, all the head coaches.
Yeah, that is true.
They're like going to all these other games. Trev Alberts even said, we're making the spring game earlier in the day so that Husker fans can go to like the softball game later on that day, which I think is so great. It's not just about football. I mean, it is.
We will be having some kind of get together that weekend. We're going to wait. We're going to have to figure out when it's going to fit with all the baseball is playing a series against Iowa that weekend. So Iowa comes to town. It's going to be a huge series for baseball. I think softball, softball is going to be sold out throughout the year. So because of Jordy Ball, who is, I think, named to an All-American team already.
Well, she and one other Husker are top 50 or top 100 players in the country?
Yeah.
I apologize. I don't have that in front of me.
Ranked at 15th or something like that by one.
Oh. Yeah, I think Jordy's number 2.
Sorry.
Well, you come
on. What is softball? Really?
What?
I think he's joking.
I don't know. Maybe he did that beer league thing for so long.
I love softball.
It is. It's nasty. You know what I mean?
It's a lot harder than baseball.
Yeah. They're what are they, 60 feet away, and they're throwing the ball that hard?
Is it harder than baseball, though?
It's way harder to pitch. Oh, my gosh.
I think it's harder to hit.
You must have played baseball.
I did.
And I played softball.
Many years ago. Before I found beer. And I'm not discrediting softball. Because if I did, my sister would come in here and smack the shit out of me with a bat. And so would my niece. But
what are you doing?
Is that Esther?
Yes.
Yeah, you have a wild animal, wild Caribbean. All I know is that I think there has been video evidence of equal caliber players, maybe college or high school, something like that, of baseball and softball, where baseball players try to hit a softball pitch and softball players try to hit baseball. And I think the baseball players have an easier time.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So just based on some anecdote you have.
It is an anecdote, yes. And I will do my best to find video evidence for next week.
This makes no sense whatsoever. We took a bunch of guys and pitched a large ball at them, and they hit it.
Yeah,
we took a bunch of girls and pitched a
it was soft pitch.
And softball, you can cheat. You can start running to first base before you hit the ball. Come on, that's
no, you cannot.
I'm pretty sure. I've heard. I don't know.
You played beer league too long.
No, you stop. It's a thing called the slap bunt. Let's not Let's not get confused. I don't know, Minnie, how long it's been since you played softball. But
Yeah,
now
you
they have the
actually
thing
have
called
to
the
hit the
slap.
ball.
Well, yeah, but you can be halfway to first when you do.
Clay Castleelder says Husker softball could be awesome this year. What's the new pitcher's name? Jordy Ball.
B-A-H-L.
B-A-H-L. Hey.
I was going to...
Fried Fritz Echo says, my biggest takeaway of this softball talk is that John used the word anecdote. I can use big words sometimes. You sons of bitches.
All right. We're a minute and 6, or we're an hour and 6 minutes into this show. Can we talk about the elephant in the room?
What? The elephant?
Caitlin Clark.
Oh,
okay.
Gosh. Well, okay.
Because it's timely, because Nebraska plays at Iowa on Saturday.
No, that's not right.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So
no, they play at PBA.
Okay. Can we
No,
back
it's
up?
at Iowa. According to Huskers.com, it's at Iowa.
What?
Let's back up just a second.
Back up just a second.
Go back to the men's basketball game when we beat Purdue. They were at Nebraska in Lincoln. Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The Purdue head coach, after the game, he was like going on and on and on about how dangerous it is to storm the court. And there needs to be guidelines. There needs to be police. We need to be ready for this. This happens way too much. And one of these days, a player's going to get hurt. 1 week later, Greg, what happened?
A student got hurt by a idiot basketball player. I mean, that is pretty obvious that she intentionally ran over that Ohio State kid.
Yeah. I think it was pretty obvious.
She was bitter about the loss. She's not a good sport. She's a head case. She's not that good. I'll tell you what, the only reason she's the best, highest scoring player in the conference is by volume. And I've got the stats to back it up. Oh, what stats, Greg? Let me tell you. So Caitlin Clark has attempted 439 shots this year.
Okay.
The next closest person in the top, well, I guess in the top 15, but again, that's how you're going to do by volume, is 254. She's only hit 211 of those. So it's a measly 48.1%. But again, by sheer volume, she has 634 points on the season.
Yeah.
It's not,
right.
It's not by talent, it's by volume.
Chances.
It's not quality, it's quantity.
Gotcha.
In Caitlin Clark's playbook. So here's what you do: triangle 2. You triangle and 2.
Okay.
You don't give her any open looks. Nebraska's going to win this game on Saturday, and then
not at Iowa. You're right. It is at Iowa.
Yeah, John,
any calls at Iowa? We are getting 0 calls of any kind.
It is at Iowa.
I have said this before. Women's basketball is horribly officiated. It favors the home crowd so badly that, God, yeah, I really have difficulties of watching it a lot of the times because the officiating is so freaking horrible.
Colt Bundy's right. Colt is very succinctly stating what I'm trying to say. Caitlin Clark is a ball hog. She's the only one. She's the only one scoring points because she's the only one taking shots.
What they win?
I don't care.
Okay,
it's dumbass Iowa. Like
it is. It is Iowa.
I'm not gonna go any less classy than that. Like I'm not gonna be as mean as I'm a little self-restrained. Aaron says she's the Allen Iverson of women's college ball.
Yeah, that is a good. I think that's a good comparison of how little I know about the NBA.
Allen Iverson was a tremendous player.
He was, but he shot the ball all the time. Sorry, Mindy.
That's okay. Did you hear that the athletic director apologized to her after that
course.
happened?
You have to apologize
What's
to
her
the
name? Beth Getz, the one who fired Kirk Ferentz's.
Yeah,
Oh, the
she is
Iowa-
now officially the athletic director.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she and she also came out again, kind of like what Matt Painter said is we've got to do away with this storming the court. Not like I
Yeah.
don't think so. Good luck.
No.
Good luck telling
Even
10,000
okay, so
excited fans that
what I
you
love
can't.
what I love about that is Trev Albert said the very next day after this whole Caitlin thing happened, he goes, you know, what do we when Matt Rhule looked at me after the Purdue game and is like, you know, he asked, are we going to storm the court? He's like, we kind of have to. You kind of have to. I mean, get with it.
Oh, wow.
Colt Bundy and I are of one mind on this topic. Clark scores 40 points and only took 80 shots. It's egregious. If I were her teammate, I would be pissed. Like
They win. They're
don't-
what are they? Number 2? They're number 2.
John, that's
now.
not the point.
Okay, I'll be quiet now.
Oh, you don't have to be quiet, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And Nebraska's got a tremendously talented basketball player as well, Alexis Markowski. I believe Lincoln owned, correct? Isn't she a Lincoln native or Nebraska native?
Yeah.
Yeah. And she is has a here. I have it here. So she ranks 11th in the conference in field goal percentage, which is 2 spots behind. But she has. I mentioned that Clark has taken 439. Markowski is the one who's taken 254. So she's second in the league in shots, and only I've got to do math now. About half of a percent away in field goal percentage. Markowski 6th in the conference in points scored, 319. Again, Clark, you're going to average 31 points per game when you're shooting 80 times. It's
Okay. If anybody wants to see what I'm talking about when I'm talking about women's basketball officiating, you can go back to the Minnesota game, Nebraska at Minnesota, and Alexis Markowski gets the ball thrown to her pretty much right under a basket. A Minnesota player slides in under her, behind her back, inside the block circle, and they called a fucking offensive charge against Markowski. You looked at it and you went, that is no way other than she knocked the girl down because the girl went underneath her, pretty much came up to her body and knew she was going to turn around. But there's a reason there's a block charge circle there now. And it just, I look at, I'll just move on. My blood pressure, I have my Apple Watch and my heart monitor is getting too high. Fucking officials. Anyway.
Drink,
it's just shit.
Drink
it's
some
terrible
lavender
officiating.
tea, okay? Just drink your lavender tea. Put on your essential oils.
Fred Sacco says that Caitlin Clark's numbers are like Marlon Lucky's receiving yards as a running back, 1 billion 2-yard gains. and Josh says Minnie is still a Chatterfield. That's talent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, look, this one is pure. This one helps me be nicer.
You know what doesn't help me be nicer, John?
The Yingling beer.
That is the taste of America's oldest.
It's pure.
1829. It's right there on the label, John. 1829.
Okay.
That predates the Confederacy. And you know what I think about when I think about the Confederacy? God dang.
Shitty generals.
I was going to say, fuck the SEC is what I was going to say.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what else. That. Husker women's basketball at Iowa on Saturday. Mark your calendars because you're going to want to watch that spectacle. And then if you're wondering, well, when does Iowa do the home and home? When are they in Lincoln? That would be Sunday, February 11th. I can think of no better treat for you gentlemen to take your lady for Valentine's Day, an early Valentine's Day gift, than to pack the Pinnacle Bank Arena wear your Husker red, and really give Caitlin Clark and the rest of those Iowa jerk guys the business,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean. So
That game sold out.
there you go.
Ooh.
I've done my duty.
It's already, yeah. They're already way ahead of you.
Josh says, can someone get Greg some Nebraska beers?
Yeah.
I am not opposed to it, but somebody's got to send it to me. Josh,
somebody in Nebraska gets some Greg's in Nebraska.
Josh lives in Nebraska. He can send me some beers, right?
Come on, Josh, you poopy butt.
Fred says that if Mrs. Coronation is watching, please swap John's oils for lipstick. He'd look like one of the Road Warriors by now.
The Road Warriors.
The Legion of Doom.
Oh, God.
From Minnesota, John. They're from Minnesota. They're practically your neighbors, except they're both dead. So they're going to be your neighbors in the future.
John, everybody wants to know, when are we doing the Young Guns viewing?
I don't know.
You say that every time.
I know. That's because we haven't discussed it, Greg. By the way, Saturday at 12:30 p.m. Central Time, I'll be jumping in a frozen lake or a cold lake, and you guys go to the community post on YouTube and contribute, because I haven't met my goal yet. Although Fred and Linda and let's see who else, David, Matt, and Eve contributed. I'm missing one. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for all support all the time. Anyway.
Here, I'm going to send the link here. There you go. If you want to, that didn't work. There it is. If you want to go and support John for the Polar Plunge, and I'd be happy to tell you that they are only $70 short of the goal for John.
Is that right?
Oh my gosh.
All right.
So, tell you what, Minnie, do you have $35?
My goal is to be first.
Did I already donate? Am I on there? I tried to. I don't know if I was there or not.
Unless you're
Maybe
Jam.
I donated to somebody else.
Are you Jam?
No.
No, that's my sister.
Minnie, do you have $35 laying around you're not using?
Actually, yes.
Okay, so Minnie and I
was trying to donate $40, in fact.
That's crazy. Let's not get carried away.
Okay.
The Chiller Bees.
Yeah, I have to figure out how I'm going to dress up and look like a bee.
Oh, that's going to be great.
All I know
please tell me this will be available for us to watch.
Well, hopefully. We'll see what happens.
Which one is this for? The Lake Minnetonka?
No, this would be White Bear Lake.
Okay, I want to make sure I get it right. Because it says I'm looking for team part. I'm doing it right now, folks. I'm doing it right now. Oh, participant search. John Johnston, Chiller Bees. Hey, there we go. That's you.
James Boardman. Paul Dalen. Hamilton Hale Husker. Holly Rundle.
I better put a decimal point in there, otherwise I'll be giving you $3,500. And I like it. I don't like it that much.
You can just send that to me directly, and I'll make sure somebody gets it.
Corporate matching, no. Okay, I'm doing this right now.
Aww.
Thank you.
And if ever anybody could tell those clicks, they'll know what my credit card number is.
So I don't know where I've been told that there's ice at the lake, but I don't know if the ice will be thick enough for people to actually walk on it. So I'm not sure if we're running in from the shore or we're jumping off a platform, or I guess we'll find out when we get there.
Sounds horrible.
You know what it is? The honest truth is I work all the time at home. I don't go anywhere. The only time I leave the house basically is to walk my dog. This is my way of challenging myself to get off my ass and go do something. Oh. It's with a bunch of work colleagues at the University of Minnesota some of which I've worked with for 20 years, and some of these people saved my life. So, it's my time to, before I end up losing my career or retiring in the next few years, spend more time with these people and do something fun that raises money for charity and makes me challenge myself, because, You know what? It is a challenge to go out and run into freezing cold water in the middle of winter.
There's
It's
no
a
way
certain
I would
amount
do
of
that.
lunacy, and by God, there you go. I'm just the guy for that kind of shit.
I don't, when you click the link, you can see who all's donated. I'm honored to be the most recent one, but it's really great. Again, Minnie sent me a message on Slack. Just uh, glowing about this community, this family that we've built here. So when I'm looking down this list, and I'm not going to, kind of single out anybody on purpose. I know we've mentioned a few of them here and there, but the number of Chatterfields that have supported this, John, it's what I'm very proud of what we have done here with the Five Heart podcast, with Monday Night Therapy, with the shows, and we all owe it to you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see. Let's see. Husker Chuck says, "Aren't you getting warmer? Aren't you getting warmer weather now?" It's going to be like, I don't know. You know what? It's going to be unseasonably warm. Last year I did this. It was 4 degrees and there was a wind, and it was like an 80-yard march back to the warm tent. After it's supposed to be 35 freaking degrees Saturday. That's not even cold. Yeah,
John.
And then I think, what?
Okay.
This is a top comment right here.
This guy said something really wonderful.
What?
Just how the community that has been created here at the Five Heart podcast, how it's grown, and it's just such a wonderful thing to be a part of. And
Fred
he was thanking you.
Fred says Greg gives John a nice tribute, and John basically tells him to fuck off.
Yeah.
That's so typical.
And that is why we just found the answer to Colt's question. It says, why does John get the most flack when he has the biggest heart? God bless you, John, for taking the plunge. That's why, because he ignores me.
That's what I've done.
Old and deaf.
Clay Casselder asked, John, are you worried you'll have a brain freeze?
Gotta have a brain to have it freeze.
Wow. That, I didn't have a problem. Well, I did have a problem last year when it was 4 degrees. I didn't have a medical problem. I had a really sick, but I can't even say the word, psychological problem. I mean, it was just difficult that was the first time in my life I've literally walked anywhere with an entire sheet of ice covering my body because I walked out of water into 4-degree weather in the wind. It was pretty amazing. It was an amazing feeling to look down at your hands and they're literally coated in ice. So I think that, if I did that, I think I think this should be fine. Josh says John wasn't listening in his defense. No, I wasn't. You're right. I'm really terrible at that. My wife says that all the time. There you go. Justin Rogge says, John, I've heard cold plunges can be risky with those with cardiac health issues. Have you cleared this with your doctor? Yes, I did, actually, a few years ago. And here's the thing that I want to say about this. If you remember earlier in the show that I taught outdoor survival skills to scouts, there's this thing about, the cold is bad for people in the cold. Well, most of the times, for example, I talk to a lot of heart attack survivors, and a lot of them will say, don't shovel the snow. The cold will get you. No, it isn't. Nobody's cold when they shovel snow because it's a hell of a lot of work. What it is it's the extreme effort you're putting into shoveling snow that causes heart attacks. It's not the cold. Cold can restrict your blood vessels and things like that. Exposure to the cold over long term can cause a lot of problems. That's literally why, for example, here's an example. If you're out somewhere, how far should I go into this?
I'm scared already.
Rule of threes. Okay. The rule of threes was something I taught. And what this is it's a way to prioritize what you're going to do if you're in serious danger. And the rule of threes states this: if you have a severe cut, you have 3 minutes to live. In other words, you have to stop the bleeding within 3 minutes. You're probably going to die. One of your major arteries gets cut. 3 hours in exposure. If you're in an extreme situation where you are exposed to extreme danger or extreme weather, either extreme cold or extreme heat, you have 3 hours to get to shelter before it's probably going to kill you. 3 days, you have 3 days without water and you're going to be in serious trouble. And here's the one that always gets people: 3 weeks without food. Now, what does all this mean? It means that the first thing you do is when you're in trouble is you seek shelter. The second thing you seek is water. The third thing you worry about is food. Most people fucked up those priorities and they like leave their car to try to go somewhere. That's a really bad idea. Where was I? Where did this begin?
Are you worried? Are you worried about?
Okay, what? Yeah, right. My cardiologist said this. He said it's no different than you having a minor fender bender or being surprised about something. And then he said words that I live by, which is this: there is an inherent risk in life. And there is. And I think the problem with a lot of survivors and a lot of people, just regular people, is they worry about so many things that they forget to live. You know, and I'll probably share this with my brain injury people, my heart attack survivor people. And, you know, I'll post a video because I'll probably have my wife do a YouTube video. And, you know, I'll point out, you know, you need to stop worrying about shit and go live. I'll probably try to jump out of an airplane soon.
I want to add to that. Do the things you can when you can.
Yeah.
And I applaud you for that, John.
Thank you.
Going.
Then you get old and crusty and you stay at home all the time. And then you just like,
well, you're challenging yourself. That's great.
Yeah. It's a challenge.
A couple things. Clay says, how many years without a bowl game can a person have before dying?
A lot of us are already dead inside and damn well better make a bowl game this year.
And James with a great one here says, I hope we have a rule of 7s this fall.
That would be good.
Okay, do you think
I like that?
I like that. John?
Yeah, I thought we can do something with that. Write that down. Minnie, write that down.
I'm writing.
You're the planner.
I think you just by default made her the secretary of the show. She already does all the show notes.
I like writing things down. I remember it that way.
Let's see.
Colt.
Will Nebraska ever get a hockey team?
We have one. Nebraska has a club hockey team, and they have in the past done very well. And they have in more recent years not. But we have a club hockey team that travels all over. A few years back, I remember we had one of their coaches on the show back when it was a different format, and they had made the national tournament, and they're not funded, so they were taking donations. And I remember I sent in like a $50 donation, something like that, to the UNL. Not association, but whatever the donation arm is of the university. And I still get postcards of like, hey, would you like to donate again? And right now, the one we got this week was, hey, you can donate like $15, but if you donate $65, we'll send you this Nebraska Huskers knit cap. And my wife says, that's a very expensive knit cap. I'm like, honey, we don't have a Nebraska knit cap. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You know, it might be worth the $65.
You mean like a beanie?
Yeah, beanie, knit cap, whatever.
What color is it?
It's red. It says Huskers across it.
Might be worth it.
It might be. Do you want me to? I'll tell you what. I'll make the $65 donation and I'll sell it to you for $75.
I'm sure it can come in useful in.
Sounds like something I might need.
Or
the UNL Foundation. That's what it was. That was the organization. So, will we ever have a Division I hockey team? I don't think so.
No, probably not.
I don't know where they would play outside of Omaha. I know Nebraska or Lincoln has the Breslow Center or something like that?
Yeah, Breslin.
But that's not big enough for Division I, and I don't think anybody involved with the Pinnacle Bank Arena is willing to lay down a sheet of ice in that facility. So, but it'd be cool.
Apparently they have curling going on at the Breslin rink also, which curling is a thing for, you know what I mean? It's like a cult thing.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, let's knock out some of these starred comments from earlier. John, are you getting warmer weather now?
Yeah, it's 30. It'll be 35 on Saturday.
Okay. Living in Omaha, that was from Husker Chuck, by the way. Living in Omaha, David Matney says, right now, who do we have as backup to Dylan Raiola? Make sure I get that right.
Danny Kalin.
I thought so. Or I honestly probably say Heinrich Harburg, just for experience, not for sheer athletic ability, but for the fact that he's got Division I, snap reps under his belt.
Well,
I
in
was
the
thinking-
spring, I mean, that's a great question. In the spring, we're going to see Dylan Raiola and Heinrich Harburg because Danny Kalin is still in school.
I don't know if he is.
Yeah, he is.
Is he? Okay, you're paying.
Dude, I was gonna say, don't question Minnie on these things.
I thought about this today, and I thought, as few quarterbacks as we have that are going to play Division I football, they damn well better have like packages they could stick in for Harburg so he can run like Wildcats and he can run, quarterback power runs and things like that. And I don't mean that's because somebody's injured. I mean, literally swap them in for certain drives during the game. I would love to see them swap that up.
What do you think about this question by Clay? Harburg's the starter, isn't he? Like 5-1 as a starter. I could be wrong here.
I don't think so. No.
I don't think you bring in the first 5-star quarterback in school history and not
Ever.
Yeah, and not give him
Yeah.
the reins.
No, this is a big deal.
Josh says hopefully Danny Dimes can redshirt and use Harburg as backup. That'd be interesting because if that's the case and if Raiola is as good as we hope, right, then he might only be here 3 years before he's off to the NFL, and you'd have Danny Kalin for 2 years of eligibility on the back end of that.
We also have Dayton Raiola coming in 26.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to count those chickens until they hatch.
It's happening. That's what Dylan and Coach Cook were talking about at the basketball game. He's like, hey,
I don't
my sister plays volleyball. She's in the transfer portal.
But all right, now I'm not trying to disparage any Raiola, but if she was good, wouldn't she have been signed somewhere by now? That is a very shitty take, and I apologize.
Oh my God. What the hell? We adopted this family and you pooped on one of them.
Okay, moving on. Here's an interesting one for you. John may have snow on the roof, but says there's a fire in the fireplace.
Oh, that's a warm heart.
I don't think that's what Phil Spears talking about. Okay.
Okay. Did I miss it?
I was kind of thinking
warm heart. Brett says it's Raiola. I guess that I apologize for being wrong earlier. I like this one by Husker Nation 1. I say we change the Pledge of Allegiance to instead of One Nation, we say Corn Nation. Could we do that? Could we say that Pledge of Allegiance right now?
Do we have a pledge? Okay.
Like the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the, no, I guess it wouldn't really work.
It's not.
No, yeah, we have to have our own.
And to the Republic for which it stands, Corn Nation under God.
To the end.
That's kind of sacrilegious.
I pledge allegiance to the end.
We will have to go. We'll have to go.
Write this.
We'll have to figure that out. It'll be right up there with Be a Winner, Herbie.
And it's going to be right up there with the Minnie's Christmas song about Dylan Raiola next year.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
The one we didn't get last month, and we're all sad about it. Fred says, oh no, Greg pooped on a Raiola. Minnie will slash your tires too.
Yeah.
All right, so we got that. Uncheck that one. Let's see. Oh, this is a fun one. Thank you, Roger Moore. The Sanders boys were in France for a Louis fashion show and missed the first team meeting in Colorado. Your thoughts?
Is that really true?
Yes.
I haven't been paying it that close attention.
I subscribe to the Well Off Media channel, which is Dion's son runs that. Their subscribers have gone way down. But I have noticed that whenever they're out there, like doing things, they're always dressed to the nines. So that would make sense.
This was from USA Today. Deion Sanders' football sons jet to Paris to walk runway as fashion models. Colorado head football coach Deion Sanders laid down the law in his first team meeting of the new year this week, telling his players that they better not disrespect women, spit on the turf, smoke, vape, or be late for team meetings. Eric Gilbert obviously won't be transferring to Boulder anytime soon. Says we don't play tardiness, he told his team, but 2 of his players didn't show up for the meeting at all, and for good reason. Quarterback Shedeur Sanders and safety Shiloh, which are Deion's sons, had jetted to Paris instead to walk down a runway Tuesday as fashion models in the Louis Vuitton men's fall and winter 2024 show.
That's why he's a shit coach.
Isn't it though? I mean, come on.
He is a fucking joke.
He is.
You either treat all of your players the same or go fuck yourself. That's really serious.
Yeah.
Everybody gets treated the same, or everybody knows that what all the bullshit you're spewing is complete bullshit.
It's true.
And that's why Deion Sanders is a farce as a head coach. God. I'm sure we're going to have to listen to this bullshit come fall again. You know, maybe an NFL team could hire him. That'd be fun.
I like Fred's comment here. I pledge allegiance to the John, because around here, that's got double meaning, because we have our beloved John, but we also have the place where John usually records from after a loss.
Wow. That's one of the things that I get triggered by.
Oh, calling it a John?
Yeah, it's always Dear John letters. John's being arrested for prostitution. You know, John the toilet. Jesus. John is just my parents probably knew this.
And why would your parents really were not very original?
Oh my
Since
God.
your last name is-
Now you're talking about my mom.
Wow. Minnie,
Wow.
stop.
I'm just saying. I was trying to think, okay, Greg.
You know what else isn't original? Dylan, Dayton, Donovan, Dominic.
Yeah. See, here's
Taylor.
the thing. My
Taylor.
I'm pretty sure somebody in school said we can't do that to this poor girl when she came in with the name Daylor. Like, no, we're gonna change it to Taylor with a T.
My parents did the same thing. My oldest sister is Juanita with a J. Julie, Janet, Jerome, Jim, John, Mary, Jean. They were Catholic. We had to have somebody named Mary, and then they had Jean as the middle name.
God bless.
There you
God
go.
bless your family.
Yeah, see that?
Minnie throwing haymakers is what Aaron says, and Fred says, "Geez, Minnie kicks John in the middle of his mental break."
Mental break, yeah. Wow, cause piling in there.
And Josh says, "Mrs. Johnston is a classy lady." Oh my gosh! Again, what a great
John.
do
you have any nicknames? I was wondering about this actually.
Shit ass. Oh, I know that's his nickname for me.
We're an hour and 38 minutes into this. We don't have time to go into my nickname.
Living in Omaha, David Manny would like to know: was anyone offended when Levante David did not give proper recognition, or receive proper recognition as a Cornhusker in the playoff game? I didn't see it, so I don't know.
I didn't either. But
I'm not sure what he's talking about.
Nobody
I know sometimes if they do that, maybe he's talking about when they introduce themselves. Sometimes they'll state different schools just to do a shout out to their high schools. Or David came from. Oh, come on,
Fort Scott.
Yeah,
Community
Fort
College?
Scott. I interviewed his coach at one point, I think, years ago.
Oh, cool.
I cannot wait when Levante retires. I would love to have him as a guest on the show, or just to talk with him. Easily a top 3 favorite Husker for me. So, Phil Spear says neither did Malik Collins. So,
Aaron Rostovsky says, "Nah, they all shout out their elementary now."
But Trey Palmer did mention Nebraska, and he was only here for a year.
Well, that's.
By the way, this comment from Justin came in 23 minutes before we went live, and he wanted to make sure this is the good one that he referenced earlier. We're finally getting to it. He says Caitlin Clark has a reservation for 15,000 to watch her lose.
Go Big Red.
But we determined that the game at the PBA is not until February 11th. So a little premature on that one. But hey, if Nebraska beats Iowa twice, this guy will not complain. All right. And let's see. Josh says that Levante can do what he wants. Most underrated Husker perhaps ever. So, John, are you busy? Are we taking you away from something important over there?
Yeah, I'm trying to contact people. Yeah.
Okay. By the way,
work never stops.
I'm monitoring your polar plunge. You're up to 495 now, John.
All right.
Ooh.
The latest 30 was from Anonymous.
Well, thank you.
Make sure
Anonymous.
that you send them and send them an email, send them a card. So, yes, Phil Spear is right. Levante was a JUCO transfer. I think he only played 2 years with Nebraska.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
I think that's right. So, all right. Living in Omaha, David Manning, I hope you're still here because you're about to get the abridged version of the story. How did the Five Heart Podcast show get its name? John, do you remember?
No.
Cool. All right. So this is only my story to tell because the other person who would tell the story. I love it. I love that you're so in tune. You're actually paying attention to me.
That's his listening face.
It is.
So it was, I think we started this one back in 2015, Brian Toll and myself. And basically the name of the show was always meant to be Clay. Come on now. That's not, no, that it was always supposed to be when you look at like 247 or Rivals, things like that, it's always on the star system. And for us, maybe being Nebraska, being our proud walk-on tradition that we had, and I guess maybe we'll have again. I don't know. It was, I don't know about the stars. I want those Five Heart kids. I want those Five Heart. I want the kids who want to be in Nebraska, who want to give every drop of blood, sweat, and tears to this program to help this team succeed. So out of that, Five Heart Podcast was born. It's been the Five Heart Podcast now for 9 or so years. And before that, Brian and I had that. Basically what Brian and I did before, going back to 2012, I think, was detasseling the Huskers. John, I know you remember that one. That was our mailbag show. We just took your questions. And now we just kind of do that live every week through this new format of being live here with you all, the Chatterfields. You're a great community. We love you. We appreciate you. We miss you when you're not here. I said it in my write-up. This is one of my favorite times of the entire week. It's pretty easy breezy for me. I don't stress it at all. And tonight I've had 3 Yinglings, so I'm feeling great. A lot of the time, the rest of the week, I could be pretty stressed out. But I know when I hit record or not record, when I hit live with John, with Minnie, before Minnie, when it was just with John or Hoss, I'm just in for a good time. And you Chatterfields, you're a very big part of that. So I thank you all. And I say all the time, you really do have a lot of entertainment options that you could choose on a Thursday night. And we really do appreciate that you choose us. So.
Okay.
I got nothing after that. You should put a nipple on that third beer, Greg. But man, I'm empty.
Wow. Wow.
Brother, man, these things are empty.
Yeah.
They've been empty for a while.
Notice it's not 5 beers, Greg.
Yeah. Well, when John was talking about the rule of threes, I really wish that I had my third bottle down here because I was going to be like, rule of 3. But I disposed of that one. So,
okay.
Thanks, Colt. Colt says, great story. That's true Nebraska culture. Five Hearts, the perfect name. And Aaron says, we are to the 500 total. 505.
Wow. Oh,
see,
good.
John, good things happen to you, man.
They do. That's good.
It's a great family we built here, and I appreciate, like I said, everybody. Look, I realize that we have more viewers, whatever, when we're in the middle of the season, but like the 37 people who are here right now, that'd be the 37 people I'd go watch Young Guns with, you know.
Yeah.
You, Minnie, and you, John.
Never
So
we're gonna do it. God. You kind of have to figure this out.
Hey, we'll do it. We'll do it. So, anything else that you have, Minnie?
Nope. Oh, yes. Sorry.
Oh, what?
Like, I was so close to bed.
Okay. We'll save it for next week. But
right.
Please come ready to answer the question, what do you guys consider a Husker?
Yeah, that's going to be a in-depth conversation for sure. That's not when we start an hour and 45 minutes into this episode. But we'll definitely be ready for that next week. John, do you have any final thoughts, any words of wisdom that you'd like to share to these people who are half your age?
I don't think so. Oh my God, it's an hour 45 minutes. It's time for my brain to go lay down.
What was it like following Sherman on his march to the sea?
You know, he wasn't as grouchy in real life as they kind of tend to show him. You know, he was a little bit merciful every once in a while, not very often though.
I appreciate your honesty in that and going with it. That really makes my 5 heart happy. So, all right. Well, once again, thank you to all you Chatterfields, everybody watching this live, everybody who's going to watch it later, and everybody who's going to listen on their favorite podcast app. You know what? I have something new. I almost forgot to put it up there, but check that out. And sorry. Let's fix that. There we go. Much better.
There you go.
Like, subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification bell so that you are aware of the next time we drop a show here, or maybe it's Monday Night Therapy, or one of its John's post-game reactions, or make sure that you go to the other channel, John's a crazy manic football history channel, and like that for all the history that you didn't know you needed about college football, because it's really interesting. And he's getting a lot better with those videos as he goes. It's all a learning process, and so they're really great. And we'll plan on seeing you here next week again, since Nebraska women's basketball plays. Since Nebraska men's basketball plays Wisconsin next Thursday night, we'll consider doing Wednesday, depending on everybody's schedules. We'll make sure that we keep you posted.
Or you could just, we could just do it during the game, and I would scream at my other monitor for the entire show.
And ignore us?
Probably.
All right. Minnie, are you ready to do a show kind of with John, but kind of without?
I think we have done those.
I fade in and out. That's the normal part of life for me.
So for my esteemed friends and colleagues here, Minnie Hunt, John Dam Johnston, our founder, our fearless leader, I'm Greg Mahochko. This is the 5 Heart Podcast, that we remind you each and every week that 5 Heart is all. I moved now, so I got to. 5 Heart is all the heart you need. John?
Go Big Red.
Minnie?
Go Big Red.
Go Big Red.